It was a moonless night. It was an empty sky. It was a bad excuse. I was the only fool inside. It was a crazy thought, a madman's walk it was. It was a moonless night. It was an empty sky. It was a bad excuse. I was the only fool inside. It was a crazy thought, a madman's walking world.
Hello, my friends, subscribers, and fellow YouTubers. Now, as all of you know, it can be a pretty simple task to get totally turned around and lost. A busy parking lot can be a challenge, but especially in a wild and unfamiliar environment. And at some point in our lives, we are very likely to find ourselves in circumstances beyond our control. Whether no fault of our own or of our own folly, we will have to adapt and overcome to survive, depending on the severity of the situation. This video is about that one knife that will give us the edge we need to live through that ordeal, to come out alive. Not necessarily unscathed, but a survivor. Now first, we have some factors to consider. And probably most importantly is definition. Just how do you define survival? I define it as living through or overcoming a life-threatening event, regardless of what that event is. It might be an avalanche or an earthquake, could be an armed robber in your home. You might simply become lost in an unfamiliar place and have to hunker down and wait for rescue.
Alright, guys.
Hey,
Hey,
you're safe for sore eyes. How you doing?
how are you?
Good. We're the Halifax
Good to see
Regional
you
Search
guys.
and Rescue.
Alright, we got 4 of us. We're all fine. A little wet, but okay.
Or you might become lost in an urban environment and have to fight your way to safety or to some help from other sheepdogs. Your survival will depend absolutely, in any of these scenarios, on how well equipped you are at the time of the event. Remember what our pal Adam at Equipped to Endure says:
You're not always prepared, you're never prepared.
disaster doesn't occur at our convenience. It happens unexpectedly and very, very suddenly. This is why we train, so our responses are just as sudden and efficient enough to save our lives in a given situation. And the tools we have should be well chosen and, most importantly, at hand. That survival knife will do you no good at home in your jumbo that you left by the bed, or in your bug-out bag that is collecting dust in the closet. If your survival depends on a knife that isn't there when you need it, well, that wasn't your survival knife at all. You know your survival knife. You know every tiny flaw and the origin of every little nick on the scales. You know how it feels in your hand. It is the knife that is always within reach. You're twirling this knife in your hand while you watch Bear Grylls eat animal scat and maggots.
But I want to be taking a bit of these now, a few for bait and a few for food.
It's a knife that you have probably cut yourself on once or twice. It is the knife that is always close at hand. It is comfort, it is strength, it is confidence, and it is a single representation of your skills as a self-reliant person and a bushmaster. That knife speaks volumes about you to the trained eye. The knife you left at home this morning couldn't possibly be your survival knife. No way. Now, philosophically, there's a distinct chasm between the proverbial survival knife and the popular shorter style bushcraft knives that we see so much of these days. On the one hand, these bushcraft blades, like the Moras and the Bark Rivers, etc., are fire afield when it comes to expense. The Mora blades are $10 to $18. The Bark Rivers, on the other hand, are expensive by comparison, being $100 and up. But they are essentially the same type, smaller bladed cutting tool made for close-in work. They are not made for chopping or batoning thick limbs and such, although there are demonstrations of it. but if they were actually made for that purpose, they would be significantly longer. You could certainly whittle a thick branch down to size with those razor sharp knives, but heavy tasks will escape the bushcraft knife, in my humble opinion. I'd be more likely to employ the mower cutting my steak than depending on it in a life and death struggle, which is what a survival knife is designed to do. But I don't want to take away from the mower. I plan on purchasing one myself. They are well known for their dexterity of use and sharpness. The same with the Bark Rivers. I plan on getting the smaller Wilderness Special for a neck knife. The razor sharp convex blade is perfect for detailed tasks. Now, survival knives have been on the market for quite some time, but they really came into their own when Sylvester Stallone introduced us to that serrated spine on the Jimmy Lyle knife in the movie First Blood. That knife seemed to do everything and look good doing it. Lots of cheap knockoffs with their hollow handles have followed.
What you are about to witness may be the most striking purchase you will make. This is the Survivor, the ultimate knife with all the accessories to help you survive on your original survival knives, sold in leading newspapers and magazines across America. They are the best-selling knives of its kind ever sold by us. Yet now you can get one during this limited publicity campaign for the special TV price of $10.
I know, and I think I actually had one of those back in the day. But if you're still watching this video at this point, I'm pretty confident that no matter what type or style of knife that you carry, it's a good one. Now, I think we've established the thriving diversity that the survival type knife comes in. There are many sizes, thick and thin, and made in everything from glass injected polymers to napped obsidian. They're polished, they're coated, and they rest in kydex and leather and ballistic nylon cordura, and as the mass assortment grows, none of them are a complete system. They are the heart of our survival gear, but no one knife does it all, although some come very close. That's why I carry a survival knife system. But regardless of your preference in a knife and your mastery of it, if it isn't with you when disaster strikes, it won't do any good at all. If I'm wearing pants, I also have the Tool Logic Folding Survivor clipped in a pocket. It's small, razor sharp with a partially serrated blade. It comes with a flashlight, fire steel, and an emergency whistle. I also carry a SOG Power Assist multi-tool in my EDC. Also within my EDC, I carry the principal knife I have chosen for my survival blade, the Becker BK2, a K-bar. I won't go into statistics as the knife's well known, being a 30-year-old design. I also carry its big brother, the BK9, in my emergency bug-out bag that is never further away than my truck is. The BK9 sheath is attached to my gaiters for a Daniel Boone carry on my calf. So that is my personal system. But my point and the main goal of this video is to say that just placing the label survival knife on a blade does not necessarily make it so. A man doesn't leave his survival knife anywhere, not for a second. And bushcraft is only a very small part of survival. Bushcraft knives are for plain survival in the woods. We can call it training if you like. Survival knives are for the ultimate mission when it comes, or possibly the final one. With the knife, you can make fire, you can kill and trap wild game, you can harvest other foods, you can build yourself a shelter. With a knife, you can pry open cans and doorways. You can defend yourself if need be. You can cut, chop, slice, stab, pry, even signal. With a knife, you can sustain yourself better than any other tool. With the right knife, that is. The right knife for you. But if that knife isn't always close, it's not a survival knife. So a survival knife to me is not how big or how much or what kind. It is much more where it is than what it is. But that's just me.